but just in a different way now.
So, we have our caller ready to go. It's
Let's go.
Chloe
Let's do
from
it.
Michigan. My Michigan.
Oh, hey.
Expertise is not overrated in the age of Google. So let's bring her up. Chloe, she, her, Michigan. Oh, I thought I brought her up. I must have not clicked good there. Hi, Chloe. How are you?
Hello. Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Doing well. What can we do for you? What do you want to talk about?
Well, for me, I thought the question was kind of easy, and then I don't think that expertise is overrated. I think that people overrate it, tend to in the age of Google, but I personally don't think it's overrated. And I was curious, why was that your question for this call-in show?
Well, it was Aaron wrote the cold open about expertise, so we kind of geared the question toward the opening that he wrote. So I guess, Aaron, you want to tell us why you wrote that
it
opening?
just seems when I look out in the world and I see a lot of the conflict that I'm seeing is people don't want to believe experts. They don't want to believe medical experts or mental health experts and other kinds of experts that have studied things for a long, long time and know what they're talking about. And it's really disheartening to look out in the world and see people using their own opinions or a Google search over the work of people that have dedicated their lives to certain knowledge in the world.
Right. Gotcha.
I have to agree with Aaron on that, but I also want to say I don't think we should gatekeep knowledge. Like I was just mentioning before that I don't have a degree in geology, yet I spent 40 years doing geology work, and all my geology friends, actually, I never considered myself a geologist until they started calling me one, right? Because I don't have a degree in it. So I don't think it's necessary to gatekeep knowledge and make it so only the experts can learn things. There is so much knowledge out there. You're right. In the age of Google, you can learn anything you want. However, and also in the age of Google, you can learn a lot of things that aren't true about a topic as well. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you can also just reinforce your bad beliefs, your incorrect beliefs too, right? Our human beings have a tendency to have confirmation bias where we only look at the things that confirm the things we already believe. And so if you're not careful in the world of Google and search engines, you can end up in an echo chamber where you're just seeing things that confirm what you already want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that there's kind of a death of curiosity that's been happening as there's been an increased saturation of information available so easily. I think that people get less curious and less driven to learn and to really search things out because so much information is so readily available. And my brain, I have terrible ADHD in my brain. I've had a lot of brain fog the past couple of years. But I think, I'm somebody, I managed to get a college degree, and I was raised in a small town that had a kind of a big university for my denomination and a big church, and it was like a university church kind of thing. So education was saturated, in my environment. So some people would debate about the actual quality of my education based on it being, Christian and not public. But at least what it gave me though is a love of learning and knowing that there's a lot to be learned when you research and when you dig into something and you dig into what professors have to say. There's so much more there. And so that at least has given me an attitude that when I go on Google, I know I'm just getting a little bit. And I'm also a doctor's kid. And I know that medical shows don't give you their shows, their TV shows. But there's some things that you can pick up logically where say in diagnostics, for example, you can have a lot of the same symptoms for different things. And it takes a lot more detail and analysis to really figure out the cause of something, because a lot of symptoms are shared across the board. There's comorbidities,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
and I think that because so many people now are being raised with so much information available, that we've kind of lost the thrill of learning and being empowered by that learning. And life has gotten so hard and there's so much crap in the world that I think there's a huge orientation to being comfortable. And unless you've, I think, been through scenarios where learning and like the truth that sets you free, in various scenarios has like really changed your life, I think a lot of people struggle to have motivation to really dig in and research and learn, because it just seems like there's so many resources, so much information available. There's such a saturation. And I think that's part of like what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, I totally. I agree. There's an oversaturation of information. We have the 24-hour news cycle. We have social media. If you're not careful, you can just be hooked in and just receiving signals, receiving information into your brain. And I don't think the human brain was necessarily evolved to handle that, to handle all that information and we just can't sort through it all, right? And our brain tries to make sense of it, and our brain literally will make stuff up. If we can't understand something, it'll just make things up. And so you have to be really careful about how much information, where you're getting that information. Yeah, I totally agree. And I love your idea that how important curiosity is, because if you're curious, you're gonna reflect on what you believe, and you're gonna be curious about, hey, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there's more for me to learn, or maybe I'm not right. So I really do agree that curiosity is a really important trait to have to stay educated.
And then, sometimes you go through something shitty or like it's just a trauma or a complex trauma and betrayal. And then sometimes, the natural reaction is to like just shut down and make life simpler to avoid that pain. And then sometimes either the natural reaction, if you have somebody with a unique brain, or sometimes, everything aligns and somebody encourages you to be more curious, you can like respond redemptively to that awful thing by like seeking to learn about it and dig more into reality. Because usually when there's, shitty stuff that happens to us and betrayals, it kind of like opens up new and really painful doors to more reality. And there's more to learn, and we can either shut down or we can expand. And, learning and opening ourselves to more information, it's hard and painful. But, I think that sometimes if you've been through enough, if you've been through enough situations where like lack of information was really harmful, if you've not been through those scenarios where lack of information was harmful, again, it deadens curiosity. But, and maybe somebody listening to this might just, like take this and, get a drive to like learn more. Cause like, I'm thankful that like I can look things up on Google and get kind of like a feel when I talk to my doctor about my health issues. And I always just take it as like a little bit of a lead. And then she and I talk more. And then of course there's tests. And then like, when there's tests to figure stuff out and get answers, sometimes my doctors are like, well, this is really just going to rule something out. It's not going to necessarily tell us. But I'm like, no, that's okay. Because even if something is ruled out and it's not that's still part of the answer. That still fills in more puzzle pieces, and I just think it would serve us all a lot better to have more of that kind of mentality rather than just seeking to be comfortable, because it's so dangerously easy to find ways to make ourselves comfortable. And then we can be vulnerable to harm and contribute to harm and not realize it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I agree with that, but I also agree that we could just be contributing to harm at any point and not realizing it too. So, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter in this situation. Your amount of knowledge or information doesn't always matter when, if you're causing harm and you don't know about it, the amount of, you know what I mean? If it's something that's like extraneous to your normal routine.
Well, and that made me think, I apologize. I don't mean to keep interrupting. Sorry. I keep thinking you're finishing. Sorry, you finished.
That's okay. I was just, what I'm thinking of is like, I don't know if you're familiar with Jainism, but like Jain holy men will carry a staff with a bell on it to warn small animals and even bugs to stay out of their way so they don't step on them. We all we do these unconscious acts of harm all the time, right? And there's no matter how much knowledge we have, these things are still going to happen. We can't prevent it from happening. That's my point. That's the only point I was making. So, and I try not to dwell on that stuff. And I look at it this way. If it happened, it was because it was probably meant to happen. And if something bad came out of it, it's up to me to make that bad turn into good. And the one thing you could always get out of even a bad experience, you can always get some good out of it by learning a lesson. And I say many, many times, my failures and my setbacks have made me more of who I am today, and I'm proud of who I am today than all my successes put together, So, yeah.
Mm. Well, and
Yeah,
real quick before we close, because I know I've been on here for a bit. Like, just to
You're fine.
one last thing is that in terms of curiosity, I think it's also important for us to remain curious about ourselves, to pursue more self-knowledge, because we can so easily be deluded about ourselves. We not just inoculated to what all there is to learn outside of ourselves, but it's really important to just not to be navel gazers and unhealthfully fixated, but to know that we're always evolving and growing, and there's so much more of ourselves to get to learn. And I know that the way that my brain has worked and things have shaken out is that when I've messed up and realized that I was capable of a type of harm that I never intended or wanted, then that made me want to learn more about that capacity and also to help others with it, and I just think curiosity would be such a good tonic for the whole world, curiosity inwards and outwards.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's awesome. That was one of the things I really tried to instill in my kids, was that sense of curiosity and wonderment. I think, that's what we need more of that. We really, really do.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people interested in making sure people aren't curious, and in telling people that knowing things and learning things is dangerous, and that you shouldn't go out and try to find the truth, or you shouldn't learn new things, because learning those new things, it could be dangerous. It could, and my response is the truth. The truth, that you have nothing to fear from the truth. The truth is the truth. And I think we're all better off knowing what is true over what is false, knowing that which comports to reality, I think, as most people have phrased it. Go ahead, say that again.
Yeah. No, truth sets you on solid ground, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And it can be hard when you're learning stuff about yourself and those around you, those can be tough steps to face and tough steps to take, because it can sometimes involve changing who we are and how we interact with the world. But I think that just makes us better people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it sure can be hard to face the truths of ourselves.
Sorry, what?
It can be hard to face the truths about ourselves.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful.
It's harder to look in the mirror than it is through a window.
That's true. And as a theist, I want to toss this out in case there's any Christians listening or who hear this later, that a lot of Christians can just be kind of the worst in some ways about this. And yet I just want to toss out there that we Christians say that we believe in an infinite God, and that he's the way, the truth, and the life. And if he's infinite and we're finite, and his, and the Bible that we say we believe in says to this is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom you've sent, then that should imply to us a lifelong task of learning, because if eternal life is to really know and experience God, then that means constant learning.
But wouldn't, one of the things,
the logic of finite beings relating to an infinite being that they say they believe in. So I just want to toss that out there as a challenge to Christians who come across this.
That's awesome. I think one of the problems is that a lot of, we have problems with evolution. Let's go back to the time of Galileo, when we had the problem with when we found out the Earth was in the center of the universe, right? That these things that and it's not just Christianity, it's many other religions have beliefs that are just not in compliance with the things we found out through science since then. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of Christian churches, and I'm not saying all of them, nor am I saying everybody in any one particular church is like this, but a lot of people want squash that sense of curiosity, because of the fact that the more curious kids get, the more they often see that the world doesn't align with their religious beliefs.
Yeah, and I'm not testy about that, because again, I think that Christians should be the most curious people, and that there's so much to learn. And if we believe, logically speaking, if we believe that an infinite God created the world and has put all kinds of infinite genius into it, then we should never stop learning. And like,
Yeah,
if
then there's an
we are
infinite amount of
conscious about
knowledge,
what
right?
we are, then we shouldn't be afraid of learning.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be afraid of self-correcting.
Hmm.
Because
I
mean,
agree.
by the
I'm
time
totally.
even the book alone is full of that.
You are like a bright star in the darkness, Chloe. It's really good to hear you say this. So yeah, I agree with you fully.
Yeah, I like to hear Christians challenging other Christians to be better.
That's to challenge them to learn. That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, that's great, Chloe.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah. Thanks for your call, Chloe. It was great talking with you. Thanks for. And I think I recognize your voice. You've called many times before, so I think all your calls have been fabulous. So thanks for calling.
Calling in. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, but you're always welcome to call back. I love talking to you, Chloe. So feel free. At least when I'm on the show, I can't speak for everybody else, but I love. I'll talk to you any day.
Thank you.